Welcome, everyone, to the start of the ARCS 7-Bar Barbecue A-Square Cup Series season. Welcome to the Drip Diecast 500, Race 1 of 25 in the 2025 season. The weeks of anticipation, of build-up, the clash, qualifying, the duels, they lead up to this moment. 42 cars will take to the grid to try to kick off their season with a race win. 100 laps will be in their way. Welcome to ARCS on ABN here on YouTube. We're glad to have you with us for what has been a very busy weekend for racing. The time for preparation has come to a close. Obviously, everyone has been working hard since the draft back in January to make as hard as possible on this season. We're going to see what that progress has looked like for these teams as we get underway. Again, 25 race season. It begins here tonight. It's going to be a wild ride, that is for sure, as Daytona usually is. For the fourth time, for the fourth year, A-Square Cup Series season begins on the high banks, the World Center of Racing. For those tuning in, I'm Carmen, Sienna. We're glad to have you with us. There is a lot of work to do. While we get through this, some cars getting on the racetrack here. Mark Dila, one of those cars. Going to have several drivers, though, all put together here. The drivers' meeting just took place. Drivers having a chance to kind of go through and run down any last-minute adjustments, kind of refresh themselves on any rule changes for this year. We had a chance to sort of go over some of these rule changes as well. There are 3 stages in this race, as it was last year. The stages are different, though. Stage 1, only 15 laps. So these drivers have a pretty short sprint to try to get those first stage points of the year. The top 10 score stage points at the end of each stage. So stage 1 and stage 2, top 10 score points. Stage winner gets 10 points, as well as a playoff point to go towards the postseason once we get into the later stages this year. Qualifying was determined last week. We have had some substitute drivers. We were looking at one of them with Mark Dila, that 33 car, filling in for Dale Markowski, who is in real life Daytona right now, dealing with the weather and the uncertainty down there at the real-life World Center of Racing. Blake Galloway also filling in, this time for Seth Wansing. He is not on track at this moment. But we have 5 substitute drivers in this field. As I go over things here, Nathan LaJoy, another driver that is going to be filling in. He's filling in the 88 car. So LaJoy filling in for Ethan Wood. Ryan Pinnell in the 76 filling in for Christian Angel. And then Tom Sears filling in for Josh Gaiman, who is also in Daytona. So those are the 5 substitutes here. If we have a chance here, just making sure. Connor Knowlton not on the racetrack at the moment. He has been someone that has been a talk of the series the past couple weeks. He is starting this week. He is starting this season with a 13-point deficit, receiving penalties from the duels 2 weeks ago. And so he's got a lot of work to make up. Obviously, we know how good Connor Knowlton can be, but he's going to have to do a lot of extra work here, especially in those stages, to make up the difference that he's found himself in. He's the only driver in the negatives to start the season. I would be very surprised if he stays in the negatives once we get through today's race. He usually runs really well at these plate tracks and should be a contender to try to win the race. As I mentioned, 42 cars set to go racing here. We'll go over the starting grid in a moment once we get ready to go through the formation laps. But it's going to be a very interesting time period. We'll go through. We'll go ahead and pull everything down for you here. Pulling up the top ticker at the top of your screen. This is kind of just walking you through who is where right now as far as their practice times. The warm-up is not going to be indicative of anything because this is a plate race. Staying in the draft is going to be absolutely critical. So again, we're glad everyone is here with us this evening. As you see some of this work going on at the moment. Okay, you realize that we do not have sound at the moment, so let me go ahead and fix the sound. So bear with us for 1 second here. Thank you, Windows 11, for giving us an update that did not necessarily make our lives any easier. Let's go ahead and fix the sound. All right, there we go. Sound is back on and in full, which is going to make life a little bit easier. There we go. All right. Now with sound and vision, we count down the final 2 minutes until we get to the formation laps here. Right now, the fastest car on the racetrack would be that of Matt Vorndren. Connor Knowlton, as we mentioned, someone who's got a lot of work to do, is second fastest at the moment. Then it's Tom Sears, Davey Houck, and John Hagan. Wanted to point out something while we're working on this here. You're going to see drivers, but some of them have an R beside their name, an R in parentheses. Those are your series rookies in 2025. There is a Rookie of the Year hunt going on right now, a Rookie of the Year award. Drivers that made less than 7 starts over the past 2 seasons, as well as drivers brand new to the A Square Cup Series will all be considered as rookies going into this season. Matt Vorndren, one such rookie for the night. But a lot of rookies here. You've got Chris Fleming. You've got, just looking through the field, Colin McDonough is a rookie there. Just kind of just browsing and perusing through the field. Blake Galloway's a rookie as well. Nicholas Martinez Jr., who will start on the front row in the 48 car. Jared Newton, Jared Merchant. About 13 rookies in this field. Steve Tucker, another one of those rookies in the 24. He's got some work to do. 42 cars. Louis Pelletier Sharp just now joining the racetrack as well. And that fender number 18. Time has expired, which means it is almost time for us to get to business at Daytona. So with that being said, let's go ahead and focus on the starting grid here at Daytona. It's Michael Lawrence on pole position, alongside of Nicholas Martinez Jr. Martinez, an open car, locked himself in by getting on the front row. Everyone else had to race their way in a very wild turn of events there. Row 2 is Riley Mauricio. He's alongside John Hagan in row number 2. The defending champion will start 4th. Marshall Harris alongside Chris Fleming They make up the third row, 5th and 6th. Then you have Steve Tucker and Ryan Pinnell. They are in row number 4. Ryan Pinnell filling in for Christian Angel will stay in that 8th spot as we get things started here. Patrick Overstat and Davey Hauk, they will make up row 5. They are the keystone, the gatekeepers of the top 10. Brendan Fetterplace and Blake Galloway, they make up row number 6, 11th and 12th for Fetterplace and Galloway. Galloway in his first ARCS season opener. Mike LaJoy starts alongside Elrich George in row number 7. Elrich George, one of his best qualifying efforts in the 500. Going to try to cap that off with another great finish at Daytona. Row 8, Matthew Kent, driving the Buc-ee's Chevrolet, will start alongside Jonathan Adams as this race continues to move forward.
Hang on, we're not going green.
Kevin Feemster and Vincenzo Iacovazzi, they make up row number 9, 17th and 18th on the grid for them. They're just ahead of Tommy Withers and Daniel Michel. Withers starting in row number 10 on the inside, Michel in 20th on the outside lane. Zach Millett, one of the winningest drivers last season in the competition, despite missing the first 8 races. Keep an eye on the 31 car. He's starting in row 11, 21st, alongside the rookie Jared Newton. Colin McDonough in row 12 alongside Connor Knowlton, who starts 13 points in the hole going into this race. He'll try to claw himself out of that gap in a hurry. Row 13, Lily Pelletier Sharp starting at 25th alongside Austin Mongold. Row 14, James Kerr and Josh Battles, that's 27th and 28th. 29th and 30th is Nathan LaJoy in the 88, as we mentioned, also a fill-in driver there. He's alongside David Wright in the 30th spot. Mark Dila and Brian Rupert, they make up row number 16. They are going to have a lot of work cut out for themselves here, trying to get from the back of the field up to the front. Row 17, Ross Baxter and Bryn Roberts. They'll have to work their way forward as well. Row 18 of 22, or sorry, row 18 of 21, excuse me, Matt Vorndren and Elliot Longenecker are in that 18th row. 37th to 38th is Edward Marshall and Tom Sears filling in for Josh Gaiman in that 61 car. Sears has won on plate tracks before. 2 of his 3 Cup Series wins have been on plate tracks in the A-Square Cup Series. Brian Dixon and Gavin Hudspeth are in row number 20. They are 39th and 40th on the grid. Jared Merchant in 21st, looks like the 42nd car, not present tonight. And that leaves us with 41 cars here to go racing. Still a really healthy field, going head-to-head against the real-life Daytona 500. It's all about passion and having fun tonight as we kick off the 7-Bar Barbecue A-Squared Cup Series season. Tonight's race sponsored by Drip Diecast and Collectibles. You can find them on Facebook just by looking up Drip Diecast and Collectibles. Thomas Andrews, person hooking up collectibles all around racing, open wheel cars, stock cars, sports cars. You're looking for it? He's probably got it. Again, as we get ready to go racing here, 100 laps around Daytona. It's the classic way to start off the season. We get to do that once again here in Daytona. Nicholas Martinez Jr. and Michael Lawrence on the front row to lead us to the green flag. It's been a long off season from September all the way to today. That all comes to an end, and a new season begins in earnest. Someone will punch their ticket into the playoffs by the end of tonight's race. Who will that be? We've got 41 potential answers. The pace car takes the left-hand turn down pit lane, and the Drip Diecast 500 is underway. We're racing at the World Center of Racing. Welcome to Daytona. First lap completely green. You see a couple of cars in the middle, 3 wide. That is Steve Tucker in the 24, one of those cars. The 5 of Blake Galloway being shuffled backwards on the outside lane. Seems like the inside and the middle are where you're going to want to be to get this race started. Davey Houck in the 21 also falling backwards a little bit, trying to find his place in line. Below the yellow line is the 33. He is trying to get out of the way. That is Mark Dila, as we mentioned, one of the substitutes filling in for Dale Markowski. Going to the bottom of the racetrack, you saw was the red, white, and blue, number 25. That was Daniel Michel. Everyone trying to ride around at the moment here. Seeing all the cars just flying by. Everyone getting themselves up to speed, getting themselves into a rhythm. Remember, stage 1's only 15 laps here in Daytona. Stage breaks are at lap 15 and lap 50. So you don't want to jump your car early here in stage 1 because it's a long 85 laps after the stage break to try to make things happen. Davey Houck's dropped all the way to 26. That's who the camera's focused on at the moment. He has lost 16 spots. The only person that's lost more was Galloway, who has lost 17 spots so far in that 5 car, the HendricksCars.com Chevrolet. At the front of the field, it is the defending champion in car number 1, John Hagan. Teammates there 1 and 2 with John Hagan and Riley Mauricio sitting first and second. Marshall Harris sitting in third. Patrick Oberstadt in fourth. Chris Fleming, your top 5 at the moment as things sit on lap number 4 as they go down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Your front row, Martinez and Lawrence, they are 6th and 7th. They are in this lead line. It is Martinez in that 48 ahead of Lawrence. And then you have Brandon Fetterplace, the 34, the Cincinnati native. Moving to the outside lane, getting ahead of Tucker. Tucker and then Jonathan Adams. And then you have the 31 of Zach Millett. So lane beginning to move forward a little bit. That is Martinez being pushed by Fetterplace. Martinez, one of the open cars, not affiliated with the team. There are 10 teams in the series. SRD Motorsports, Smule Racing Designs, their top 2 move to the top. Trying to block off that momentum by Martinez and Fetterplace, and it worked. Hagan leads the way still, ahead of Mauricio. There are 4 of those SRD cars in this field. Connor Knowlton's another one, the 2 car in this field. He's further back in the order, trying to make his way forward. Fetterplace moved to the inside, so did Steve Tucker. And they're going to try to get support from Patrick Oberstadt in the 60. And in the 38, that is where you'll find Chris Fleming. Outside lane, not nearly as many cars in that outside lane, but it is moving pretty quickly. I misspoke about who was behind Fetterplace. Tucker is still in the 24 on the outside lane. The 19 is who's behind him. That's Marshall Harris. Harris, another open car. So 2 of your independent drivers currently sitting in the top 10 and holding their own weight right now. Here comes Tucker to the bottom, though. Tucker to the inside. Going to try to get support from Fetterplace. Inverted rolls from what they had on the outside lane. Mauricio goes to the bottom. Cuts off Tucker. Almost gets in trouble. They save it, but now the outside lane's got a huge run on them because Martinez is still getting pushed from the 8 of Jonathan Adams. Outside lane right now, as it sits, is Martinez, Jonathan Adams, and then Ryan Pennell, the 76, that Motorcraft Ford, 3rd in line. And then you've got Kevin Feemster, the 17. SRD trying to control both lanes here Tucker in the middle. Martinez peeks to the inside. He's going to go to the bottom now. Tucker gave him space to come in, and they're going to try to hook up to get to the front of the field. Mauricio can't block him now. Completing lap number 8. That was close at the line. I think Hagan still led that lap, but Martinez and Tucker have a lot of steam. A little bit of side draft by the defending series champion. You do not want to risk your race this early. Martinez cuts off Hagan. He moves back to the top. A lot of aggression early at the front of the field. We've seen what this can do. Hagan gets to the bottom of Martinez. Gets to the inside, gets support from Tucker. Mauricio has to help out Martinez right now. Not a lot of work you can do at this point as they jockey back and forth. Martinez tried to get to the inside. Tucker checked up a little bit to give him a chance. Martinez actually led that lap as the SRD teammates were trying to hook back up together. Six laps to go into the end of stage 1. And it is still lockstep, heel to toe, at the front of the field, side by side. Bad bump there by Mauricio to Hagan. Got them all out of whack, separated into turn 3. They're going to try to side draft to make up that lost time, but the inside lane, a lot of momentum. Martinez once again goes to block off Hagan. Instead of just working with Tucker, Martinez really trying to just hamper down Hagan and Mauricio at the front of the field on that outside lane. And so far it's working. That's 2 laps led now for Martinez. Back to the inside lane ahead of Tucker. Better place in the 3rd car in line on the inside lane. He's watching all of this kind of take place. He's got a very careful dance to play because you don't want to push the pusher. You don't want to push the 24 in this situation. But that's exactly what he's doing down the back straightaway. Lets off into turn 3. But they had a 3-car train hooked up there going down the back straightaway. And you see the effect that it has. Tucker is now clear of Hagan. And they have the ability to play both lanes now if they so choose. That is a 2-car tandem that is absolutely hooked up. It won't stay that way for long. Tucker's going to have to worry about managing the temperatures to that 24 car. But that was a dangerous run that they got there, and that was all courtesy of Better Place, that 3rd car in line, just giving them a massive run down the back straightaway, like what he's trying to do again right now. Outside lane, trying to side draft. They know they are not at full strength. It is a 2-car tango between teammates, and Mauricio gets turned by Harris. And there's caution number 1. The caution comes out. Huge crash from the front of the field. Side drafting went wrong. Marshall Harris drew contact with Mauricio. Several cars involved in that. Looks like Vincenzo Iacovacci, one of the cars, turned around big time. Looks like he got a couple of hits in on him. Not where you want to be this early on. Again, that was a lot of work there. You see Riley Mauricio, one of the cars involved. Let's go back and take a look at this crash here. This was as it all began. We're going to see exactly how it happened here. It looks like it would have been with Marshall Harris where this all really kicked off here. Let's get our good old traditional chopper camera here. Let's go quarter speed. Right now we're looking at Mauricio on the outside lane. He is 2nd car on the outside behind John Hagan. Harris getting right up to the bumper of Fetter Place. Does he get help from Jonathan Adams? I don't think so. I think he's just trying to check up. Gets unsteady behind the 34. Fetter Place gets very lucky not to get turned and hooked right into the outside wall there. Looks like Ryan Pinnell gets clear of that. Feimster does not. And this is where the bedlam really kicks in. Everyone trying to desperately get out of the way. This is not day done for anybody in this race. Importantly, when we talk about this, we still have a lot of these drivers, all of them came in with one fast repair. Some of them will try to hold off on using that fast repair, but a lot easier said than done. We'll go back a little bit more here and see if we can ride on board. We'll see if we can ride on board here actually with Ryan Pennell, the 76 car. See what his perspective on that looks like. This is on board with him. Go roof camera here. Yeah, very close there for the 76, but he got through it just fine. See if we can find someone else to ride on board with here. Let's see if we can ride on board with the 77 of Diecasts, the Sopranos, number 77. He is further down the order behind Michael Lawrence. And obviously there's nowhere to go at that particular point in time. And you see Diecasts got ran into from behind. And he tried to keep it saved. Roberts gets away with that. A little bit of trouble there. That's Withers, who tagged the wall early. Let's see if we can actually ride on board there with Tommy Withers. You see, he's already in the wall by the time we even get to him. He puts it in the wall trying to stay safe, and then he gets jacked up from behind. Daniel Michelle gets hit as well. Yeah, he sees smoke. He doesn't see a car until he's there, unfortunately. Things happen really quickly here in Daytona. So stage one ends a couple laps early here in Daytona. Multi-car crash here at the World Center of Racing has put a pause on activities a couple laps before scheduled. Looks like we are about to go green, it looks like here. Double checking, yeah, the lights are out on the pace car. So we are not far away from getting ready to go racing once again. See if we can get one of our spotter cameras here from high above. Down the back straightaway they go. So here's your top five as we get started once again. It's Nicholas Martinez Jr., Steve Tucker, Brandon Fetterplace, Marshall Harris, who got away with that. He's still in the top five alongside Ryan Pennell. As everything continues to roll here at Daytona. After 14 laps completed, we come to start lap number 16 this time by.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag in the air, and away we go. Martinez gets a good, healthy lead. Fetterplace behind him. Tucker to the outside. He's going to go and work with Tucker, and away we go. Next stage break is in lap 50. These cars will have a pit stop to make before we're said and done. right on board with our defending champion, John Hagan, sitting right now behind Ryan Pennell. It's time to show you a little bit of what we're dealing with here at Daytona. Pit window about 18 to 21 laps, so we're going to have a pretty easy pit window to make here in stage number 2. And you see the dimensions here at Daytona. 2.5 mile around for a lap here. Corners are 31 degrees. Front stretch, the tri-oval is 18 degrees. The back stretch that we just came off of, 3 degrees. You see Hagan from 22nd all the way to the front of the field, doing an outstanding job. Hagan working right now in the bottom lane with Martinez as they go into turn 3. It is Ryan Pennell being helped at the moment. That is Mike LaJoy, the 29, behind Ryan Pennell on the outside lane. And then Bryn Roberts and Davey Houck. And then Jared Merchant, the 68, 5th car in line on the outside. Hagan back out at the front of the field. Led the most laps in stage 1. Martinez was a really big challenge for him, though. He does not have the immediate help that he had before, with Riley Mauricio getting turned. His other teammate further down the order on the inside lane is Connor Knowlton, the 2 car. So Knowlton is moving forward, as is the 00 Matt Borndren, who is fastest in final warm-up. A little unsteady there behind Matthew Kent. Martinez being helped by Steve Tucker as Hagan moves to the outside lane to get help from Ryan Pennell. It has backfired. He's already been cleared by 2 cars. By the time they even get through turn 2, what Hagan did do is he slowed down Brendan Fetterplace, doing a lot of side drafting. Solid track position game. And usually this is where I'd pass off to Kevin Young. He's had technical issues. He had a power outage where he's at. So unfortunately he's not in the booth tonight. But I'd pass off to him sort of what the mentality of that is, having raced with John Hagan for almost 2 years now. Hagan wants to lead everything. He does not, if he's not leading, he's not happy. So he's going to be aggressive all the way through, whether he's leading or not, because the objective is either get to the lead or stay in the lead if your car won. Very controversial, but it's effective. Obviously defending champion in this series. He's won 4 races in a row in the HTL Cup Series. He's one of the masters at the new age style of racing, of either bringing home the checkered flag or the steering wheel. He's going to lead this lap over Martinez, and then immediately lose it right at the start finish line. So keep an eye on that. The outside lane really dying off on the front straightaway at the moment. Let's see if we can get a dial on where Hagan's at telemetry wise. Here's the driver data for John Hagan, your defending champion. Leading the outside lane, 197 miles an hour going into turn 3. But you see this, the speed drop that he experienced there on the outside lane, down to 190 miles an hour. He is struggling to maintain that work because he doesn't have his teammate with him. Mauricio is in the outside lane, I do believe. I'd have to double check here, but I do believe that Mauricio, the 32, is in the outside lane. He is. Mauricio a little further back in the 32 car, but he is still there. after being involved in the first caution of the day. You see the speed difference. Mauricio having to let off the gas a lot earlier there. Still gets to 198 too. He's behind the 0-3. That is Brian Dixon at the moment. John Hagan just trying to get to the inside lane. Davey Houck lets him in on the inside lane. The outside lane withering and falling apart, with Hagan now sitting 6th on the inside lane. Hagan really losing speed here because he got side drafted by Ryan Pennell. Outside lane trying to work without him. That's Mike LaJoy in the 29, Brendan Roberts in the 68, as they were when Hagan was leading that lane. They are now trying to leave him behind. It is a 5-car breakaway at the front from Martinez to Zach Millett, the 31. Tucker, Fetter Place, and Harris in the middle of those, as the outside lane tries to provide some sort of rally to contend with the rookie Martinez. In 100 laps here, trouble further behind, I have to see who that was. It looks like potential trouble. That looks like it could have been Pelletier Sharp, and it was Pelletier Sharp that was part of it. Austin Mongo looks like he was also a part of it as well. We'll go back and take a look at it here. Caution number 2 out tonight. Huge stack up on the back straightaway. Let's see why that happened. This is actually a really good look here. Let's see if we can get a wide out shot. This is from the blimp camera. And it looks like, yeah, that is Pelletier Sharp that gets pushed by Iacovazzi. Mongo and Pelletier Sharp, they're both going to hit the inside wall here. Ooh, not good for either of them there. Looks like it was a push from Iacovazzi. Trying to figure out who was in front of Pelletier Sharp there as we look. So Mongold in the 4. Excuse me. That was Gavin Hudspeth, the 83, that was in front of Pelletier Sharp there. And then you see Iacovazzi, who did not get away from this scot-free. Playing it in quarter speed here, AV in slow-mo. Just a bad bump from Iacovazzi out of the corner while Hudspeth was in front of Pelletier Sharp. Iacovazzi tags Mongold, who almost gets away with it. Pelletier Sharp almost got away with it as well. You see the 88, that is Nathan LaJoy getting through, Daniel Michel getting it through as well. Sort of see where Vincenzo Iacovazzi goes from that point. See if we can get an onboard here of Iacovazzi. This is on board with the 77 out of turn number 3. I'm sorry, out of turn 2. A little bit of damage on the 77, not nearly as much as what it was on the 18 and the 4. A lot of cars on pit lane here. It will top off of fuel, and this is going to get them close to making it on fuel to the end of stage 2. It's going to be cutting it close. Martinez, Fetter Place, LaJoy, and Millett, your top 4. Ryan Pennell, your top 5. While you have a chance, we'll go ahead and break down the weather and what it's looking like right now. Pretty dry as far as the humidity is concerned, less than 0.5%. in the humidity. The track temp 86 degrees, air temp 71 degrees. Not a bad place to be this time of year. Winds, they are pretty high, and that's going to have an effect on how these cars perform, especially in the draft. Winds going south at 12 to 15 miles an hour. Good part about it, unlike what we're seeing in real life, clear skies forecasted for the entire duration of the Drip Diecast 500. Again, we're glad you're with us. Austin Mongol still in pit lane. You see a couple cars coming and topping off of fuel here. The smart move to make, knowing how close you are to making it to the end of the stage without needing a splash and dash. A lot of cars coming in from the back of the field. We are in stage 2 for the Drip Diecast 500 here in Daytona. You've completed 28 laps of the scheduled 100 here at the World Center of Racing. The first 25 races in the 2025 season. Your top 5 as we get ready to go back racing. It's Nicholas Martinez Jr., Brandon Fetterplace, Zach Millett, Mike LaJoy, and Ryan Pennell. Take the time to shout out a couple of the sponsors for the series. KJF Design, and you see on the overlay graphic here as part of the top 5, but also the poll award presented by Just the Top Editing. GTT poll award went to Michael Lawrence for the first time this season. Got to have all of them on board, as well as 7 Bar Barbecue, the new series sponsor from Rockdale, Texas, on board here for the 2025 season. Getting ready to go green from the second caution of the night. A 3-car chain reaction crash involving Vincenzo Iacovazzi, Lily Pelletier Sharp, and Austin Mongold. The base car will take the left-hand turn down pit lane.
Green, green, green.
Once again, green flag flies, and away we go here at Daytona. The cars will build up the speed. First lap under restart completed successfully. The outside lane trying to build up its momentum once again. Everyone abandoned it on that opening lap. And now everyone trying to get themselves positioned where they want to be here to contend the rest of this stage, which could result in a lot of fuel saving here. A lot of cars further back in the order there. You see the single file train further down the line. Those are all cars that came down pit lane a second time under that last caution to top off of fuel, believing they might need it. And that's not a bad call at all. The pit window, the fuel window we had going into this race was 18 to 21 laps. 21 laps is if you're saving on that full tank. You have to get 20 more laps to get to the end of stage 2. So you've got to do a lot of saving at the front. You'd have to assume those at the front of the field know that they're not making it where they're at right now. And there's no point in even crossing that line to try to save. And you're seeing that a little bit. Martinez, LaJoy, and Brandon Fetterplace right now all sitting with a pretty decent advantage on the rest of the field. Zach Millett on the inside lane. He's level with Brendan Roberts. Roberts getting pushed by Brian Dixon. with the 11 of Josh Battles, that throwback Apple number 11. Following him, Dixon gets the inside lane, getting behind Zach Millett and ahead of Ryan Pinnell. Steve Tucker trying to make his way back forward ahead of the entire team of SRD Motorsports, all four of them in a line on the outside. Right now being led in the team by Riley Mauricio. John Hagan, who's led the most laps so far in this race, is fourth in line for that team. He is sixth in line on the outside as the inside lane just picks up more and more cars here. Steve Tucker now the one entrusted with leading the outside lane that is only 6 cars strong, and you see the single file effort right now as Steve Tucker gets left behind predictably by the SRD Motorsports crew, who are not in the fuel save mode. Jared Merchant, that Pennzoil number 68, will fall in line behind Tucker, making sure Tucker stays in that outside lane. And then you have the 6 as well, Brian Rupert, making his way forward. SRD Motorsports putting themselves as the linchpin here. They're going to lead the outside lane, and it's going to allow the likes of Martinez and LaJoie to save fuel. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Little bit iffy there. Josh Battles tried to cut in front of Ryan Pinnell. It did not go swimmingly. So Battles gets back to the outside lane, where it's a bit of no man's land at the moment. Rupert, Davey Hauk, and Marshall Harris on the outside lane alongside with Merchant. Merchant is going to get in front of Brian Dixon. It's going to leave Brian Rupert and company all alone. And you see the single car line, the single car train at the moment. We are in peak fuel save mode right now is what we're looking at right now. It's being led by the 4 SRD Motorsport cars. If you're someone like Martinez and LaJoie, you're not complaining because they cannot make it to the end on fuel as they currently sit. Keeping them at the front of the field will make sure that they're not going to be allowed to save fuel. Rupert gets to the inside lane, the outside gaining a couple of cars. That was Lawrence a little bit further back. James Kerr also on the outside lane, the 75. And then Chris Fleming. Keeping an eye on Ryan Pinnell right now, 13th in line. He's behind Brent Roberts, Brian Dixon, Jared Merchant, and Zach Millett, who is in the 9th spot at the moment. It is Mauricio leading the field. On paper, Mauricio should be one of the stronger drivers this season. Mauricio coming in with the highest I rating of any driver in the field, over 5,200 I rating. From running officials, running things like the NASCAR iRacing series. Mauricio head and shoulders above everyone else in the field on paper. Obviously involved in that early caution on lap 13 that ended stage 1 early. Having a chance now to just have some clean air and be out front without any problems at the moment. And you're seeing the field beginning to check up and spread out a little bit. Multiple different groups going on right now. The first group to Brian Dixon is 11 cars. From Brent Roberts all the way down. It's a little bit more scary. Third group that we saw in the very background was led by Jonathan Adams all the way down to 33rd. In fact, if we pivot over to Jonathan Adams, you'll see that. And that's where you'll find Adams, David Wright, Yakovazzi, Hudspeth in the 83, also in that group, Colin McDonough, Mark Dila, Tommy Withers, Blake Galloway, and Austin Mongold. But all 41 cars that started this race are still running at the moment. Mauricio continues to lead laps here at Daytona International Speedway for the Drip Diecast 500. Season opener of 25 rounds in the ARCS 7-bar barbecue A Square Cup Series season. SRD Motorsports team owner John Smeal will be extremely excited about this one. His team is 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the moment. Type of dominance we usually see Beatron Racing pull on. Right now it is SRD at the front. Fifth place is Steve Tucker. Sixth place is Nicholas Martinez. And as we mentioned before, fuel mileage, fuel saving is the name of the game right now. That's why no one's contesting the top 4 as they were at stage 1. They weren't saving in stage 1, they are now. If you let the SRD cars run themselves out of fuel, they will not be there to score the stage points at the end when we get to lap 50. That's the game plan, at least. Now, that could always be thrown on its head a little bit. As I mentioned, there were some cars that came down pit lane to top off a field at extra time. It is nobody in this group. Everyone in this group came in on lap 26. Those at the back of the field, when you looked at Mongold, when you looked at Jonathan Adams and company, they came down a lap later. And they're still back there. So this is a group that did not benefit from that. And what was 11 cars is now slot down to, it's still 11 cars, but 7 really in this vicinity. And you see the second group beginning to get a little bit more unwily. James Kerr on the outside lane trying to get around and really trying to close in on this lead group, because if those top 4 do have to make a pit stop, this group will be trying to fight for the final stage positions that score points. They'll be at the very bottom end of that top 10. But what they want to do is they want to catch up to the lead group so they can battle for all the stage points. That's what they would like to do at the moment. They have fallen a little too far back to be comfortable. They are now 4 seconds away from Brian Dixon, who is in 11th. It's not a great place to be. See Mauricio, your current race leader at the moment. Kind of getting up to speed on where everyone's at right now. From Mauricio all the way to Brian Dixon in 11th, less than 2 seconds, 1.3 seconds. Very reasonable for a single car train. All the way back to James Kerr. From Kerr to Mauricio, it's 5.3 seconds right now. And they have left behind that second group, which has Bryn Roberts leading it. He is 6.5 seconds away from the race leader at the moment, with less than 10 to go in the stage. Gets a little bit more complicated the further back we go. Elliot Longenecker is 11.5 seconds away from the race leader, but they're not worried about stage points. They want to battle for the race win and get themselves into stage 3 comfortably. And that's exactly where they're at right now. Elliot Longenecker in 22nd has collected those that were in that very last pack. So from 22nd to 41st, they're all in this final group right now. Austin Mongold, very last car right now, just sitting and riding in that 4 car. 15.9 seconds away, almost half a lap behind Mauricio. But again, they're just riding because it's all about fuel saving and making it to lap 50 and resetting for that final half of the race. Mauricio has led 10 laps so far in this event. His teammate, John Hagan, has led a decent amount as well. Has now led more than Hagan did. Hagan's led 9 laps so far in this race. Nicholas Martinez Jr. has the most laps led right now after dominating the opening half of this second stage. 23 of 43. But he is right now just riding and cruising behind Steve Tucker. Some cars coming down pit lane right now. Pull the pit road widget up at the moment as things sit. Some cars coming down. That is Fleming. That is Kerr. The 76 of Ryan Pinnell. A lot of cars coming down early because they did not save fuel and they did not come down to top off. So they know now that they cannot save enough. So what does it say about those at the front of the field? They're going to stay out here. And a lot of cars are going to go a lap down. Trouble exiting pit lane. That was a 9 Elliott Longenecker, who almost drew a caution, luckily did not, so he stayed green. That was almost a disaster, though, for the 9 car, who is now well out of shape. What happened to the 9 Elliott Longenecker here? We'll pivot to take a look at the replay here and see what happened. They are 4 wide exiting pit lane. This is full motion as the leaders were going on through. 4 wide, that is with the 33. That was really close. A couple more cars involved in that. I'm not sure who that was all involved in this. Looks like it would have been Elliott Longenecker, Mark Dila, Colin McDonough, and Brian Rupert would have all been in that group. More cars down pit lane. Millett, Tucker, Martinez, Fetterplace, Dixon, Harris, Galloway, Withers, Mongold, Roberts, they all came in. Top 4 still staying out for SRD Motorsports. And here they come on their own. 4 cars down pit lane. A lot cleaner pit stop there. Ooh, almost contact there between Hagan and Mauricio, but they all keep it clean. We'll keep an eye on their pit stops as they come down. Mike LaJoy, Matt Vorndren, they all came in as well. Same with Jared Merchant. More cars coming in at the moment, so we're going to keep an eye on the 24 and the 48, because they might be able to recycle into the front of the field here in the final moments of stage number 2. SRD Motorsports just now leaving pit lane. They're going to definitely get by them here. Yep, there they are. Very easily said and done there. Full speed for the 48 and the 24. Not even going to be close. These two are going to be battling for the stage win here in stage 2. Unless the SRD Motorsports team can really catch up. Once we get to lap 50, stage ends. And right now these two looking at a lot of stage points on their behalf. A lot of stage points in stage 1 with the caution coming out early. It's 2 by 2, and then it's a little bit more trouble further down the order. They are not leading at the moment. I should point that out right now. Daniel Michel, this group right here is the group that is leading. And this is a group that is yet to pit. They are in maximum fuel save mode right now. And you're going to see what that looks like from those that are saving and those that are not. So the 24 and the 48, they will bring us to the white flag in stage number 2. And they are untouchable right now. Here comes the next train of cars. Martinez and Tucker, they've worked something out there. They are on a rocket ship right now. Absolutely wonderful to see from Martinez and Tucker. This is the group battling for the remainder of the stage points at the moment. Zach Millett has taken the last stage point away from Tucker and Martinez. It will be Tucker Martinez that lead and grab the stage points here in stage 2. And the caution comes out. And that'll end stage 2. Steve Tucker with the stage win over Nicholas Martinez Jr. Both of them looking healthy on the stage points here at this point of the race, having grabbed points in both stage 1 and 2. Martinez grabbing the stage 1 win. So the dynamic duo have grabbed a bulk share of the stage points here. Only one car a lap down at the moment, and that is that of Gavin Hudspeth, who spent an extended time on pit lane after having a speeding penalty. So he will, I think, potentially be the free pass recipient, I do believe. He's the only car not on the lead lap. Nathan LaJoie, the 88, was in danger of going a lap down, but stayed on the lead lap. And you see Steve Tucker kind of just coming down to a crawl. Nathan LaJoie. Something is wrong with the 88 car right now. Both the 99 and the 38, and the 88 are at a crawl. Very unusual there. But the field will come down pit lane. And we will get ready for stage 3, the final stage of this race. Oh, I think they ran out of fuel. That is exactly what happened. Newton and LaJoie, they ran out of fuel. That is exactly what happened in the 98. That's heartbreaking. That is extremely heartbreaking. Oh, no. They did the fuel save, but they ran out of fuel under caution. And they are the 88 is still stricken. Newton is trying to get back. He is out of fuel, though, as is Nathan LaJoie, and he's going to have to tow. He is not moving. He is stationary completely. Hudspeth coming down pit lane now as well, 83. Newton trying to get himself pit lane. He's going to go a lap down here as well. And will not receive any help. Nathan LaJoie jumped to pit lane. You have to get towed back. And I'm assuming very similar fate will meet the 99, sorry, excuse me, of Jared Newton. Despite the smiles on the hood of that car, it is not smiles inside the cockpit. And that puts him well behind the 8 ball. There is a free pass position in play. Hudspeth did get a lap back. He was 2 laps down, though. He lost 2 laps with serving the penalty for speeding in pit lane. But he did get one of those laps back, so he's now only 1 lap down as the free pass recipient. We will end up having 3 cars a lap down at least. We go back racing. Actually, hold on. We might have more than that. Austin Mongold barely beating out the pace car. Ours George, I don't know if he did or not. It looks like he might have. Very close there for the 40. John Hagan will lead the field to green as we have passed the halfway point in Daytona. For those tuning in, we're glad you're joining us here for a wonderful night of racing. Whether you're watching the real-life race at Daytona or this one, welcome to ABN's coverage of the 7-Bar Barbecue A Square Cup Series, the Drip Diecast 500 here on the High Banks at the World Center of Racing. I'm Carmen Sienna. We're glad you're with us here tonight for what has been a very fun race here in Daytona. It's been an absolutely wild race. We got a little bit of everything, some fuel saving in stage 2, wild just slug 'em out fight in stage 1. We've had 3 cautions in this race, including the stage breaks, to get us through the halfway point. Top five, we'll go ahead and get ready for the restart here. We'll go ahead and pull it up. Their top five: John Hagen, Riley Mauricio, Connor Knowlton, Zach Millett, and Patrick Oberstadt. The top five as we get ready to go racing once again here in Daytona. They're going to get ready to go racing once again to kick off stage number 3. Hagen and Mauricio will lead the field to green. We're underway once again. It is lights, camera, action for the final half of this race. And immediately the teammates hook up. Top 3. Now 1, 2, 3. Hagen and Knowlton ahead of Mauricio and ahead of Zach Millett. Keep an eye on that 31 car. Millett will be a factor here. Another car that could be a factor, that 00, that's that 4th SRD car, Matt Vorndren. He is leading the outside lane right now. Actually, he just got to the inside lane. He got in behind Mike LaJoy. So now it's Fetter Place leading the outside lane. Fetter Place with help from Jonathan Adams. And they've got a lot of work to do to get to the level of SRD Motorsports that are 1, 2, and 3 right now. Colin McDonough and Mark Dila coming down pit lane to serve penalties. Leaving pit lane now is the 88 and Nathan LaJoy. And everyone's scrambling right there. You saw all the melee, and there's trouble. Huge trouble, huge accident. Davey Houck's involved. Blake Galloway spun around. 4th caution of the night, and it's a huge checkup that just wouldn't stop being piled into. And that should give Gavin Hudspeth the free pass, the 83. So he will end up back on the lead lap here. But that was a time bomb waiting to explode. Plus, I Pelletier Sharp had a piece of it as well. And this will be something to digest a little bit. This all started way up the racetrack, and this is very interesting. Go to our blimp cam here. This looks like Fetter Place and Millett is where this starts. Oh, 100% it is. It's because SRD Motorsports. Mauricio tries blocking off Millett. This is out of turn 2. Millett in the 31, Fetter Place the 34. Mauricio, the 32 car, moving to the top lane, moving to the wall. Trying to command the lanes. And then he doesn't commit to the outside lane. So Millett opens the gap a little bit. Because they're not helping SRD Motorsports. SRD Motorsports are not popular in the A-Square Cup Series garage. Very unpopular characters with Knowlton, with Hagen. Mauricio has put himself up there. And everything really just kind of builds up behind when you look at everyone further back in the order here. Believe that is Ross Baxter that goes around backwards. As the first one turned. Yeah, it's Pelletier Sharp checking up for Steve Tucker. So she gets turned around again, trying to check up. Everyone just trying to check up for the accident that's not happening. And Iacovazzi and Pelletier Sharp once again involved in this one. Iacovazzi once again running into a car to trigger the accident. So he's potentially, now it's happened twice. Iacovazzi's probably going to end up with a penalty here. He's probably going to have a points deduction, at least 10 points, if not 20. And that's not going to be helpful for Iacovazzi at all. And you see the melee, and we'll unpause it, and Hudspeth, I think, actually will not get the free pass because he was in the accident. You saw the red number 83 going through there. He's definitely not going to be the one that gets the free pass. Back to live pictures here. A lot of cars on pit lane. Mauricio, Fleming, Galloway, George, Pelletier Sharp, Mongold, Baxter. Mauricio in a lot of trouble at the moment as that front car in line because of how he hit the wall. He hit the whole wall really hard on that right front fender, and that's really going to hurt him. Cars leaving pit lane. That's Hudspeth, one of the cars rolling, as is Pelletier Sharp and Elrich George. Mauricio Fleming. That was, I believe, Lawrence. That also just rolled out of pit lane. It is. So Mauricio, Fleming, Galloway, Mongold, Baxter, and Dila still on pit lane at the moment. That is 6 cars right now on the pit lane. Looks like a wave around potentially for some cars here. That would be the, I believe that's the 39 at McDonough, excuse me. So he's going to get the wave around here. He will join at the end of the field to stay on the lead lap. 4 cars a lap down now. Gavin Hudspeth, Mark Dila, Nathan LaJoy, and Jared Newt are the 4 cars a lap down here. As we mentioned before, Hudspeth was in line to get that free pass. Both Hudspeth and Dila involved in that accident, so neither of them got it. Nathan LaJoy 2 laps down, and Jared Newton, his race has come to a close after 49 laps completed. So we do have our first retirement there with Newton, who ran out of fuel in the stage break. 40 cars still running though. Your top 5 as we get ready to go back under green: Hagan, Knowlton, Millett, Mike LaJoy, and Nicholas Martinez Jr. to get us ready to go racing once again for the Drip Diecast 500. We've completed 56 laps of the scheduled 100. We've had 4 cautions in this race. 1 that was just a stage break, 3 for accidents. The most recent one, a pretty gnarly accident that collected about a dozen cars in it. As we go back racing, 40 cars still with us. Jared Newton, the only retirement from the event. And it'll soon be showtime once again.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag in the air, and once again we go racing here at Daytona. 43 laps to go in the Drip Diecast 500. Teammates work together to just pull away immediately. That is Knowlton behind Hagan with Mike LaJoy in 3rd, Zach Millett in 4th. He got single file there, and then you have the battle for 5th between Merchant and Martinez. Jared Merchant in the 68. Now Pennzoil Ford. A little bit of trouble further behind. That was Vorndren, the guy out of shape. That was the 00. That was in a little bit of a hassle. That was Brian Dixon who was giving him a shove. And that trouble allows a new race leader to be crowned here. Jared Merchant will lead his first lap in the race. So Merchant leads at Daytona ahead of Adams and Michelle. And look at Tom goes to the inside. Tom Sears leading the inside lane ahead of Iacovazzi, who has survived 2 accidents so far in this race to get himself into the top 10. And he's going to have a little bit of support from the 11 of Josh Battles. But the outside lane right now prevailing, and it's Jared Merchant in that Ford Mustang leading the way. Ford's leading both lanes at the moment. But Tom Sears is going to get a lot of help from Iacovazzi and from Josh Battles. Another car dropped down there. I believe that's the 31. It is the 31 of Zach Millett. SRD fell back quickly. Once they lost momentum on that inside lane, they were gone. Tom Sears trying to lead his first laps here today. Failed to qualify in that 14 car he ran 2 weeks ago in the duels with Josh Gaiman in Daytona, in real life Daytona. Tom Sears, a second wind to have a chance to race here in this race, a race he's never missed. A little bit of trouble in that inside lane, broken up a little bit by the side drafting from Jared Merchant, who wants to lead more laps around the World Center of Racing. Side by side they go, and it was Merchant that led that lap too. Some veterans and some rookies all put together here at the front of the field. Nathan LaJoy, that orange and blue, number 88, leaving pit lane. Once again, laps down. And it is a wild time. Look at that image down the back straightaway. Middle 3 wide. That's where you'll find Tommy Withers and Davey Houck. And Tommy Withers not comfortable right now being in that middle 3 wide. Brent Roberts, middle 3 wide. He is very comfortable with it, as is Blake Galloway. Davey Houck said he was done. He had enough. He goes to the inside lane. Withers tried going to the outside lane ahead of Kevin Feemster, and Feemster bowed out of it. I don't know if Feemster had much of a choice on that when he bowed out. I don't know if he had help getting it put into the wall there, or if he just pulled the parachute for a second. Withers still 3 wide with support from Bryn Roberts, as Fetter Place drops all the way back and moves to the outside lane in that 34 car. Fetter Place now down in the 24th position and counting. Meanwhile, Merchant continues to lead the way. Laps led. Make that 5 of 64. Merchant with 5 laps led in this race so far today. Tom Sears so close, but still without a lap led in this event. John Hagan down right now in 17th place, nowhere close. He's led 15 so far. And then Rylan Mauricio's led 14. Most laps led still belongs right now to Nicholas Martinez. He has led 23 of 63 so far. Nathan LaJoy in pit lane again. This lead pack, 29 cars strong, all the way down to David Wright in the 29th spot in that 42 car. Merchant continues to lead the way here in Daytona. Merchant riding in a Shell Pennzoil scheme that is won at both Daytona and Indianapolis, thanks to Joey Logano and Joseph Newgarden. He's trying to do the same thing on his end and open up the season with the race win. He has emerged late. We still have a pit stop to go in this race. It is not clear sailing here in Daytona. Business is picking up here in Daytona. Lap led, Daniel Michel, new race leader. And they will stay side by side. Michel in the inside lane, Merchant to the outside lane. Sears again filling in for Josh Gaiman. He is second in line on the bottom in the 61. Vincenzo Iacobazzi third in line in the inside lane. Merchant has Jonathan Adams and Steve Tucker for help. They're on the outside. Millett and Martinez, top 5 on the outside lane. Inside lane, the rest of the top 5 is Battles and the 16 of Edward Marshall. Look at the advantage they have right now. Car running on the apron. That's the 19 of Marshall Harris. Getting out of the way, letting the leaders on through. Smart move by the 19. He will unfortunately go down a lap. But that is something that he will be okay with at the moment. He is going to be the first car lap down. If a caution comes out, he'll have a chance to get that lap back and come back into it. And with how these 29 cars are currently looking, it is very, very possible. This is 38, one of the rookies this season. One of the graduates from the High Octane Series. That is Chris Fleming. Middle 3 wide, a couple of the SRD Motorsports cars sitting nose to tail, I believe. Looking at that, that is Mauricio and Vorndren that were nose to tail, and it looks like more of them getting in the middle. That is the other 2 cars. That is Knowlton and Hagan, the 1 and the 2 in the middle 3 wide. They're going to get a little bit of help from Brent Roberts, who knows how to win on these restrictor plates as well. Roberts' first win in the A-Sport Cup Series came at Talladega. They're going to be 4 wide down the back straightaway. That was a car in the wall. I believe Millett was the one that tagged the wall. And Hagan and Knowlton just shooting through the gap, threading the needle. And they all keep it green. As bad as that could have been, we are still racing, and we're still racing full speed. The 32 laps to go. Everyone's still checking up big time. But it's working out a little bit. Hagan and Knowlton, 11th and 13th. They're battling with Tommy Withers at the moment. Inside lane, still pulling the charge. Jared Newton has been thoroughly dispossessed from the race lead by Daniel Michel and Tom Sears. A little bit of a bad bump there between Fleming and Brent Roberts, but they keep it safe. It just will not help the outside lane at all. Daniel Michel leads the field here. 31 to go. This is usually about the time we say this is 31 to go in regulation. Very important to keep in mind here. There are unlimited green-white checkered attempts, unlimited overtime attempts to try to get this race to end under green. Normally we see 3. A-Sport Cup Series changed that rule to allow unlimited attempts. So it could get wild at the end of this race if things play out that way. Huge trouble further back. That was Millett. And there goes cars around. That is 2 of the 4 SRD Motorsports cars. And I believe that was around Zach Millett for some reason. What happened to Zach Millett? Because he ended up on the apron. And everyone responded in kind to that. Caution with 30 to go. This is caution number 5. Let's see why. This is going to be a very prolonged event that sees the 31 get to the apron, and he gets hip checked. That's by Hagan. He got hip checked by the 1. We'll play ABN slow motion here. Millett in the 31, Hagan in the 1, Knowlton in the 2. Millett's in the middle, or he's on the inside lane pretty firmly here. I would be very interested to see how this really all comes to be. Oh, he gets helped. He gets helped by Knowlton. That was not Hagan's volition. He gets a really bad push by Knowlton. And everyone tries checking up for it. And that's an out-of-control 31 car, just trying to keep his car in the right direction. And you're going to see not everyone's got the memo that we're trying to avoid an accident here. That's the 21 of Davey Houck that almost gets into Withers there. Mauricio and Vorndren trying to keep their foot in it. And Mauricio fills the gap that Houck was using to save his car. And it ends up biting all 4 of them pretty hard. Feemster gets lucky with that. I don't think everyone does, though. That is the 60 of Patrick Oberstadt, the Castrol Ford that does not get so lucky, and Fetterplace clips him as well. And Oberstadt, so Fetterplace really out of control on that one. Ryan Vanel gets lucky to get away from that one. Very unfortunate how that all played out. Again, it's a very long process here. Let's keep an eye. We'll see if we can actually move our camera to that of Connor Knowlton, who, remember, was 13 points behind the hole going into this race. So stuff like this, not going to help his case in getting those points back. Running on board with the number 2 car. And he's going to give a really bad bump right here. And Hagen does a really good job saving it, but it's more chaos further behind. Let's ride on board with Withers, who's going to have a really not fun experience with this. Checking up, checking up, checking up. And then really got to check up here. A little bit of bump there, bump there. And unfortunately, Withers is going to get turned right here. Thought he was in the clear. Fortunately, he was not. And Fetterplace comes in and adds on to the misery. So that'll reset us here with less than 30 laps to go. Interestingly enough, we're still going to have a pit stop here in this race. Despite the caution we're in right now, this will not be enough to get people to the end of the race. There will have to be either a lot of fuel saving or everyone's going to have to make a splash and dash at the end. And I'm not surprised seeing this right now. A lot of cars electing to right now just take the loss and stay out. Try to get yourself closer to lap 80 to make that final pit stop. Looks like a lot of the field stayed out here. Only a couple cars came in. Withers came in to get more damage repairs done. Marshall Harris, who was a lap down. I think the biggest heartbreak right now, if I'm checking this correctly, Nicholas Martinez Jr. is out of this race at the moment. Wow, the 48 I think has had a technical failure. And I think the 48, who had the most laps led up to this point, is done in Daytona. Jared Newton officially out of this race. Nathan LaJoy still running. Fetterplace in pit lane for repairs. Martinez not scoring any times at the moment. I think that is a retirement for the 48, and a very unfortunate one for someone who worked so hard to lock into this race and battle for this race. Now at least a lap down, if not more. If he does come back, if that's recoverable at all. We'll have to wait and see. He was doing such a good job there in the 48 car for it to all go so wrong and out of his control. Not involved in the accident we just witnessed. Heartbreaking for Martinez. As we go back racing here once again, it's going to be Daniel Michel, Tom Sears, Josh Battles, Vincenzo Iacobazzi, and Connor Knowlton, your top 5. Steve Tucker, Jonathan Adams, Mike LaJoy, Bren Roberts, and Jared Merchant, your top 10.
Green flag, green flag.
Racing once again, less than 30 to go. 27 laps to go, to be precise, in regulation here at Daytona. Top 8 all got the same memo. They are locked heel to toe. Knowlton gets to the inside lane. Sears to the outside. He's going to try to lead some laps here at Daytona. Car to the outside is Bren Roberts. He gets around Steve Tucker. Tucker not going to be happy about that, but Roberts, with help from Merchant, they are on the rocket ship to the front. Roberts in the 84, Merchant in the 68. They are now behind Battles and Tom Sears. And they are trying to get to the front. 26 to go at the line. It is Sears that leads that lap over Michelle. But Michelle takes the advantage out of the tri-oval. With help from Diecasts, with more help from Jonathan Adams and Connor Knowlton, fourth in line on the bottom. .25 laps to go here in Daytona. Just watching all these cars jockey for position, knowing there's a pit stop that await them very shortly. Next to nobody pit. Under that caution, they're trying to get to lap 80 to make this a one-stop affair to the finish. Checking to see if Nicholas Martinez is back out on track yet. He is not. That is an official retirement for the 48 team. And that is brutal, to say the least. Diecasts stuck in the sucker hole in the middle, 3 wide. Shuffled out by Mike LaJoie. Adams now leads the way. You see how far back Diecasts is falling just in a straightaway, being in that middle lane. 35 cars on the lead lap. We're down to 39 cars running. 3 1 lap down. Nathan LaJoie, multiple laps down, 7 laps down at this point. Inside lane prevailing once again with Michelle at the helm over Mike LaJoie and Chris Fleming. Outside lane beginning to have to rebuild itself again. Roberts, Merchant, Galloway, and Millett, the top 4 in the outside lane. Here comes Tom Sears as well on the outside. Tucker thought about it, thought otherwise. Decided to stay on the inside lane. This is going to be so interesting because we know pit stops are not far away. They are not far away at all. Car in the middle, 3 wide. That is Millett, the 31. And he's going to fall all the way back too. He's not going to have any reprieve here. Anytime you have a chance to put one of the drivers you know you're going to be battling against for a championship, anytime you have a chance to put him in the back, you're going to do it, whether it's Hagan, whether it's Millett. You're going to dispatch him as soon as you can. That's why everyone was fighting Hagan so hard earlier in this race. Hagan now in the middle, 3 wide, leading the middle lane. With help from Jonathan Adams. Roberts moves to the middle as Hagan moves to the bottom. And it is Sears and Merchant on the outside lane with Blake Galloway, a 3-car effort trying to keep that lane alive. And I think that line of 3 with the outside lane are going to clear Brendan Roberts. They do. And Merchant's going to immediately get away from Tom Sears and put him on his own in the outside lane. Not nearly as lethal being on the outside lane on your own than what it is being in the middle, but Sears will have a very long fall backwards unless someone goes up there to help him. Hagan goes to the outside lane, gets ahead of Merchant. Everyone beginning to bob and weave here as we get into the championship rounds. The laps of this race winding down, 19 to go at the line in regulation. Using another boxing analogy, this is about the time of the race where you begin to figure out how many body shots you can take. And what move's going to be the knockout punch that seals the victory for one of these 39 cars still running. Hagan went to the inside lane and got immediately left by Jared Merchant. Merchant has help from Blake Galloway and Brent Roberts, Jonathan Adams as well, and Chris Fleming. Car moves to the inside lane. That was Jonathan Adams. Outside lane getting reinforcements as well. It's Steve Tucker leading the reinforcement line as they get closer. He is ahead right now of Connor Knowlton, the 2 car. 3 of the 4 SRD cars that began this race so dominantly are still in contention here. Hagan, Knowlton, and Matt Vorndren. The car that's struggling the most right now is a car that was involved in a couple accidents earlier. Riley Mauricio is down in 31st. Better place lap car will stay up high and stay out of the way. Good move there. Coming to 16 laps to go here in the Drip Diecast 500. It is Merchant and Galloway that lead the field as things stand. They have moved to the inside lane. Chris Fleming, with help from Steve Tucker, now on the outside lane looking for the race lead. They're going to have it out of 4, and they're both going to clear for the inside lane. And Chris Fleming's led his first lap at Daytona in the A Square Cup Series. Knowlton gets in behind Merchant on the inside lane. Now the only SRD car is Vorndren on the top. It is crunch time in Daytona, and the caution has come out. And it looks like this is going to be around Riley Mauricio again. Oh, 100% it is. That is a huge crash for Mauricio. The hood is up on that car. He cannot see right now. Riley Mauricio, the 32. In a car that looks to be completely toast. What has happened to car 32 with 15 laps to go? Let's take a look. And that is already, just the screenshot from that is a very vicious hit. And they're on their own here, so it looks like there's a little bit of smoke beforehand. See if we can figure out why there's smoke beforehand here. That's why. Let's rewind this a little bit. That's Brian Rupert. So this is where the smoke cloud comes from initially. This is where we thought the caution was going to come out, and it didn't because Rupert was just on his own. Does he get spun by David Wright? Yes, he does. And everyone checks up trying to avoid that melee. That we were not even close for this. Whoa! Rupert just joined the middle of the racetrack. That's why everyone was checking up so bad. And that's Ryan Pinnell also involved too. Oh my, that's a bad penalty for Brian Rupert. That is about as unsafe of a rejoin as you can get. You're supposed to ride around below the yellow line to get up to speed. He just joins right in the middle of the racetrack. There's a reason Brian Rupert went undrafted in 2025. Incidents like this. And Brian Rupert in a Swift hat just took out 2 cars on the lead lap out of contention from this race. That is one of the most egregious incidents I have seen in 5 years. That is very gross negligence as a driver. Very gross negligence as a driver. That is not a car out of control. That is a car that joined right in the middle of the racetrack and took out 2 drivers in an instant. I would struggle to believe that they're going to disqualify him, but he should be. For an incident like that, that is about as intentional as you can get it. That is foul. Absolutely foul. Chris Fleming will lead the field under yellow here. Everyone has had a chance to top off with fuel. They are now good to go to the finish of this race, which means we're about to see a lot of sparks fly. A lot of sparks already flying. Ryan Pinnell very unhappy. Riley Mauricio even more unhappy. For Brian Rupert, that is not an issue. That is not a situation where you can just kind of say you're sorry and get out of it. That is an incident where you are going to wear a lot of flack for a while on that. Lights out on the safety car here. Coming to 12 laps to go here in Daytona in regulation. As we mentioned, because it may be an important piece of information to have here. Unlimited green, white, checkered attempts here in Daytona. Pace car takes the left-hand turn down to pit lane for what I doubt will be the final time. Green flag flies. Away we go once again, racing in Daytona. 12 to go in the Diecasts 500. It is Fleming and Hagan. Steve Tucker abandons Hagan. Here we go. Party lines being drawn. Overstep behind Hagan. Hagan trying to side draft like his life depends on it, because right now his chance to win this race does. Overstat and Roberts are going to line up to help Hagan here. But Hagan's teammates are all in the bottom. Forndren and Knowlton on the inside lane. This is going to be a wild finish if we can get these next 11 laps in under green. Very spread out further back. Damage has begun to play a factor in those able to be a contestant in the final laps of this race. But we still have about 24 cars that are in this fight. And this is going to be a bloodbath. Chris Fleming leads. A rookie with a chance to win the season opener and punch his ticket into the playoffs in style on the go. The same can be said for Steve Tucker, the second place car, car 24, who has been phenomenal. Won stage 2. Person he was working with the most, Nicholas Martinez, out of this race with a mechanical failure. Your friends at this point are where you find them. And right now, Tucker's best friend is the 38 of Fleming. Hagan, relying on the help of Patrick Oberstadt, a winner in the Truck Series here in Daytona. Adams moves to the outside lane. He gets in front of Hagan. They're going to hook up one more time and see if this will be it. Coming to 9 laps to go at the start-finish line, and look at that outside lane move. Adams being helped by Hagan.
Yellow.
Caution's out. For the 7th time today, the caution has come out. And it looks like it would be a little bit further down the order here, seeing where this is going to happen. Looks like it's way further back in the order here. Oh, yeah, it is right here. Davey Houck. Oh, and he's going to get really jacked up here. Hard impact with the outside wall. So we'll get another replay of this. He is getting help from Edward Marshall, the 16. They're in the very backpack here. Oh, he just gets loose and goes up the racetrack. Tries to come back down, but Marshall's there. I'm not sure I can blame that on Edward Marshall there. That's Davey Houck just trying to come back down the racetrack on him. We'll get another replay of this because it's not going to be pleasant. See what Edward Marshall's perspective on this looks like at the back of the field. It's not going to be fun. This is what we're going to be dealing with right now at the moment. This is on board with Marshall. Yeah, Marshall just stays where he's at. Houck moves up the racetrack and tries to come back down, but that Camaro nose was right there. Can't really say that's on Edward Marshall on that, unfortunately. So we're going to re-rack with less than 10 laps to go here in Daytona. The pit stops, they have come and they have gone. They are done. Unless you have damage at this point, you're staying out and you're letting it ride at this point. You just can't afford to come down pit lane and lose track position now. So under caution here, we'll be going green. It looks like about 6 laps to go is what we're looking at the moment here. Lights out on that Ford Mustang pace car, which means we are going green at the end of this lap, and it is. Can be very interesting here. So Jonathan Adams staying on the inside lane. John Hagan, being P2, has to move up. There he goes. I was like, I know he's not forgotten how that works. He's trying to work with Adams is what's trying to happen here. Because you know for a fact that Oberstadt and Fleming, once we get going, they're not lifting. So one more time, we'll go through this. Hopefully this is the last time they go through this. The top 5 as we get ready to come to green. Jonathan Adams, John Hagan, Patrick Oberstadt, Chris Fleming, and Connor Knowlton. Actually, it should be Steve Tucker in the 24. They are not really joined together at the moment. Knowlton will be outside row 3. As we get ready to go back to racing here in Daytona with 6 laps to go. This is where the money's made. This is where everything's earned here in Daytona.
Green, green, green.
Green flag flies. We're back underway, and just like clockwork, Hagan and Adams are going to try working together. That's exactly how it happened. With 6 to go, does this restart matter? Can they make it to the white flag under one piece without another caution? Those are very important questions that we're going to find the answers out to here in the next 5 minutes. A lot of help for Fleming. Tucker, who's been fantastic all race long, trying to be an MVP right now. Roberts behind him. Merchant in 4th in line on the inside. Then it's Millett, 5th in line. The 3 competitive SRD cars right now, all in the outside lane. 2nd, 4th, and 5th on the outside lane. Fleming led that lap. 5 to go. Here in Daytona, it is a 2-car breakaway. Tucker ahead of behind Fleming. Those 2 cars have waltzed away. Tucker goes up top. Tucker blocks Adams. Inside to the outside. Tucker looking at the ringsman himself. He gets put 3 wide, and a car gets hooked. That was Vorndren that got hooked. Huge crash in turns 3 and 4. Coming to 4 to go. We will have overtime in Daytona. And it's Vorndren that got up into the wall. A lot of assistance there for Vorndren, but his race effectively over. As it very well might be for Austin Mongold and Michael Lawrence, the pole sitter. Vincenzo Iacovazzi also struggling. He has made it to pit lane, but he has lost control of his vehicle, the 77. And that's his 3rd caution that he's been involved in. So a huge crash will put us under overtime here in Daytona. And we are going to take a look at the replay and figure out how quickly this went sideways. This is coming in to turns number 3 and 4. Keep an eye on your 00. That's Matt Vorndren that you're keeping an eye on. We'll circle him here. We'll use our little highlight circle, little teleprompter. We're looking at that 00 car because he gets hooked by, and it looks like Diecasts is the one that hooks him, the 77. Play it in our AV in slow motion. He's behind Patrick Oberstadt, or sorry, behind Connor Knowlton, who's behind Oberstadt. They're all in the top lane. They're serpentining, trying to get around Steve Tucker. Diecasts just right there, and instant impact with the 77 and the 00. 00's car immediately comes to a stop. That's a car in the wall. I'm trying to figure out who that car was. Looks like Mike LaJoy. There's where Mongol gets a piece of it. And Lawrence nowhere to go. He locks up trying to get out of it. But only so much he can do at that point. Actually, I think Lawrence gets away with that pretty easy. So Lawrence may be all right on that one. He stayed out, so I'm assuming so. So this is, again, a look at it. This is live pictures here for Vorndren. This is going to be a very quick accident, the way it snaps around on him. Down and up. Just like that. LaJoy with a big shot, too. Mongol with a big shot as well. Lawrence gets a little piece of it, but it looks like he is overall okay. So about a 5-car accident that could have been a lot worse than what it was. Honestly, nothing that Matt Vorndren can do on that one. And unfortunately, at this point, it is out of his hands. Mike LaJoy, a little bit further down the order. This is Mike LaJoy, the 30th place car. He's behind Tommy Withers. You see him right there. His car not in 100% shape. He'll get to come down pit lane to do that. First overtime attempt in the Drip Diecast 500. It's going to be a very interesting restart we have coming up. Chris Fleming and Bryn Roberts will be the front row. Steve Tucker, Jonathan Adams will be row 2. John Hagan, Jared Merchant, row 3. Zach Millett, Patrick Oberstadt, row 4. Blake Galloway, Connor Knowlton, row 5. The lights on the pace car, they are off. So we are looking at the restart here. And for those that have joined us, this is the Drip Diecast 500 presented by 7 Bar Barbecue for the A-Square Cup Series in 2025. We're glad you're with us. And we know how frantic this can be. But again, we're glad you're with us here tonight. Let's see if this is a one-and-done restart. They've made it 2 laps on the past restart. It was the 3rd lap that got them. Can they do the same thing here? They just need to get to the white flag. Once they get to the white flag, that's it. The race to the finish. But they got to get to the white. It is on Chris Fleming at the front of the field. Fleming was as low as 39th in this field. Bryn Roberts as low as 37th. Steve Tucker as low as 15th. He has been in the top half of the field all race long. For John Hagan, a little bit more wild with pit stop windows being as they have been. Jonathan Adams was as low as 40th.
Green, green, green.
Overtime underway here in Daytona. Fleming with a good launch. That inside lane overall just way better on the launch. Tucker, John Hagan, of course, Millett, and Galloway. So the top 5 on that inside lane. powering the drive that could be powering a race winner. We gotta make it to the white flag. Can we get to 1 to go under regulation, or will we need an extra restart? We're gonna find that out quickly. Merchant just up the racetrack into the 2 of Knowlton. It is a 2-car breakaway at the moment. This is Fleming and Tucker, front and center. The white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go for the Drip Diecast 500. It is official. Who makes it back? Tucker moves to the outside. Hagan moves to the bottom. He gives Fleming a shot. Fleming trying to work both lanes. Tucker up top. Fleming goes to block. Hagan falls back to 5th. Fleming, Tucker, Roberts top 3. Adams 4th. Hagan, Millett, that's your top 6. As they come out of 4 for the final time. Who's got a shot at it? Fleming tries to block. Tucker goes up top. Over-unders him. It'll be Chris Fleming who wins the Drip Diecast 500. Fleming over Tucker. The rookies 1-2 in Daytona. And just like that, Chris Fleming, as a rookie, will be the first driver locked into the playoffs. Chris Fleming is your winner in Daytona. That was electrifying. Fleming over Steve Tucker and Bryn Roberts. We only needed that 1 overtime restart. It was enough. Hagan will congratulate Fleming here. Little congratulatory bump. A couple others will congratulate Fleming as well. That's James Kerr and Josh Battles. This is big for James Kerr. That is his driver, Chris Fleming, that just won this race for Black Acid Racing. Chris Fleming burning it down here at Daytona as a race winner in the A-Square Cup Series. Remember, his career in the High Octane Series, he went winless. Was in the championship contention by consistency, but winless in the High Octane Series. He breaks through immediately in the A-Square Cup Series and in style. That was quintessential racing as the leader, coming to the checkered flag, blocking every part of the racetrack, and not wrecking anybody to do it. Oftentimes you see incidents like that where you try to go back and forth and you try to defend both lanes and you just get hooked. Fleming got away with that, and that's a huge props to Tucker, to Roberts, to Hagan, to Millett, to Jonathan Adams, everyone in the top 6 that were in that fight. For Chris Fleming, that was textbook. Absolutely textbook. We'll hear from our podium finishers here in just a moment. But what a textbook move. Fleming burning it down here in Daytona. And he will now begin the process of celebrating here tonight. We'll go ahead and we're not going to waste any time. We're going to talk to our race winner. We're going to talk to none other than Chris Fleming. What a drive as the race winner here tonight, Chris. Walk us through that. That was a wild restart and a wild last couple laps.
Trying to gather what actually just happened. I can't believe I just won the Daytona 500 as a rookie. Obviously, I got to thank Kerr for believing in me, picking me. But Tucker was a good pusher on that one. For the last 2 restarts, he ended up lining up behind me, and he was just sailing me out in front. So I knew that we had a good thing going. You know, he locked onto my rear bumper good. And when we got on that last restart, he kind of keyed up on the all teams radio and was like, you know what to do. And as soon as he started pushing me, we got out front. I saw the high line die, and basically once the high line formed up, I saw him go up, and I knew I had to block. I was probably for about the last 3/4 of the lap looking more backwards than I was forward, and he got a run coming to the tri-oval, and I knew that basically if I side drafted him just enough, if he got underneath me, that I was going to slow him down, and that's what ended up happening.
Obviously, we had a chance to see you in the high octane series last year, and it was one of those things where you were noted for your consistency here, but you were also known, obviously, in your time in TNT, as a little bit of a plate track demon. That came to the front absolutely here today. As I mentioned before we got you into the booth here, textbook defending on those final couple laps there to be able to hold off everyone that was coming your way. Walk us through that. You talk about driving through the mirror in that situation. Walk us through what that was like trying to defend, because you've got someone who was equally as impressive as Steve Tucker, who was in the front for both stages today, had not been lower than 15th. You had to keep him at bay as well.
Yeah, it was definitely not the easiest task in the world. I knew coming to that restart that if I could keep my nose clean and keep myself out front, that I had a chance, because throughout the entire race there was some very aggressive either slide blocking or lane changes that were going on, and I knew that was going to come into play later on in the race and towards the end. So basically, once we came to green, I checked to make sure that I had enough fuel, because that was a little bit of a concern, but luckily we didn't get another green white checker. And once Steve got me out front, we were single file long enough where I could focus up. I just focused on what was in front of me. I kept watching, looking back in my mirror. He was lined up with me. And then when we came to one to go, he was working with me, and I think he knew that he had a good chance to finish up front and or contend for the lead if he pushed me out. And I heard him say block high or go high. We got to get high. And we went to the high lane, and I caught a bump from him and the cars pushing behind him that had to have propelled me 8 to 10 miles an hour out faster. And once I knew that I got that bump going into 3, I knew we were pretty much smooth sailing. I knew that if I wasn't winning the race, I was definitely at least getting some stage points, and that's all I came in here to do. Was just, I wanted to get stage points. I want to, like you said, talked about with my consistency and stuff like that. I just want to be consistent enough that as a rookie, I can make it in the playoffs and run for Rookie of the Year. And once we were going through 3 and 4, he was on my back bumper, and the butterflies and the heartbeat started to go at that point, and I was like, oh man, I really have a shot at doing this. And coming into the tri-oval, he dove low, and I kind of dove low with him, but I also didn't want to take myself out in the process, so I kind of let his nose down there. But I think that we were close enough together with the new draft model that they have in this car. When you side draft, it kills momentum, and I think I killed enough of his momentum, Jesus, that it just kept me out in front long enough.
It worked out in a huge way. You win the Drip Diecast 500 here in Daytona. An outstanding job for you and the 38 crew. You talk about starting the season off right. It can't start off much better than this. Looking at the rest of the season, though, it's all about consistency, as you mentioned. There's a couple of, obviously, we've had a chance to see a sample size of what you can do. Playoff points matter. Once we get into the postseason, more wins could be coming. What tracks do you look at coming up here on the calendar that could give you a reason to be optimistic that this is the first of what could be several wins in 2025?
Well, obviously, I got to look forward to the bigger tracks, because even some of the guys congratulating me after the race have kind of dubbed me the short track, the super speedway demon. So definitely looking forward to some of the bigger tracks. I do like the drafting tracks. I do like stuff like that. But I also personally come from a short track background. My stepdad owns basically a Whalen Modified Tour and drives on the tour. So I look forward to the Bristols and the Martinsvilles and stuff like that too, just because of being there in real life. And I kind of think I'm pretty decent at a short track from just having real life short track experience. But I definitely, the only thing I can tell you I'm not looking forward to is road courses. Road courses still confuse me, for lack of a better term.
Well, you've had a lot to look forward to. Homestead next week. After that, we go to Bristol. And we don't have to worry about Watkins Glen until about a month and a half from now. So the first road course pretty well off in the distance. Before I let you go and let you thoroughly celebrate your win here tonight. If there's anyone you want to shout out and say thank you to, you shouted out Kerr, your team owner there for Black Acid. If there's anyone else you want to shout out, the floor is yours. Congratulations on your first win in A Squared.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to being back up here in the booth again. I got to give, obviously, I'm going to give another shout out to Kerr. Obviously, him picking me in the draft as a rookie, as an unknown, of just running races with me in TNT and high octane. I definitely got to appreciate them. Black Acid, putting them on the map beginning of the year, going into Homestead, with the high of having the Daytona 500 win. I'll never forget that one as a rookie. Obviously got to, thank my teammates as well. I'm kind of sad that Dale couldn't have been here for this one, but he's enjoying real Daytona. But also got to thank my girlfriend for putting up with me and allowing me to race on these nights. I actually, after this race is over, I go to work. So in about a half hour, I have to get ready to go to work and working overnight on the ambulance. And other than that, just, thanks all the ARCS guys for putting on good shows and the adminning and, everything. We all deal with each other on a daily basis and bump heads. But at the end of the day, we all get along and have some fun. And they put on a great series for all of us to race in. So got to thank ARCS as well. And thank you guys for putting on awesome broadcasts. I look forward to going back later at work and watching this one on YouTube and reliving it.
Absolutely. Chris Fleming, your winner of the Drip Diecast 500. He kicks off his A-Square career as a winner here in Daytona. Chris, enjoy it and stay safe, and we'll see you next week in Homestead.
I'll see you next week. Have a good night.
That was Chris Fleming, your race winner here in Daytona. There's two sides to every story. Let's go ahead and talk to Steve Tucker, the second place finisher here in Daytona. So close, yet so far, Steve. A stage win, a lot of stage points here tonight, and a second place in this race. That car looked pristine. We brought up the stats at one point. You hadn't been lower than 15th. Walk us through your race here, your first race in Daytona in the A-Square Cup Series.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, it really went to plan, honestly. I mean, these things can be a mess, right? So you kind of go into it with a plan of, hey, I want to be there at the end of the stages, and maybe we'll get some stage points, and then, you kind of reset for the second half of the race, and you get to the end, and you just have to, put yourself in position to do your thing. And honestly, it went well for me. I mean, yeah, I think me and, I forget his name now, but Martinez, him and I were drafting great first half. End of the stages, we just nailed it down. And then, when he left, I mean, man, Fleming and I just really made it work really well. Kind of found a friend, in a group where I don't have many as of now, but him and I just hooked up really well and did our thing. And I was pretty well connected to him the whole time. I was committed to the push. I didn't want to get sent back or whatnot, or freight trained or anything like that. So we just kind of stuck to him. At the ends, I mean, obviously I'm going to try and make a move, and I did, but it wasn't super great. I needed a push, and Roberts kind of fell back behind me. So overall, though, hey, P2, I'll take it. Stage win, like you said. I mean, hey, Harpoon Design Machine is starting the year off strong, I will say.
I do believe that 24 car is going to end up being the points leader after today, with obviously all the stage points you got and the second place finish. With Martinez not finishing this race, that really helps lift your stock a little bit there. You talk about not having friends. A race like this definitely changes that for you. We hadn't been able to see much of you. We didn't have a lot of stock, obviously, going into the draft. You're a bit of an unknown quality here. For those that are watching at home and kind of looking at the calendar ahead, you look at Homestead, you look at Bristol coming up, you look at Atlanta, Old Atlanta, I should say. What kind of tracks sort of fit you better here? Obviously, you looked really good today. You said everything went to plan. Is there more to the repertoire here for the 24 team that the series and everyone watching should kind of keep an eye on when it comes to the upcoming races?
Yeah, for sure. Homestead, I'm not terrible at. It's a decent track for me. Bristol Dirt, I mean, I'd rather just not talk about it. That's going to be that might be interesting, but for the most part, everything on the schedule seems pretty decent for me. I mean, I'm kind of hit or miss on some track types. I'm pretty good on the flat tracks, typical 1.5s. I can do well. So I think I'll do relatively well here. I mean, I expect to get a couple wins this season. Put this Harpoon Design Machine on the pole maybe a couple times, top threes, podiums. So I'll be talking to you a lot. I've got a funny feeling.
Well, that's obviously the game plan, and that's obviously fantastic to hear here. Obviously, missing out by just one position on a win to kick off the season, but we have a bunch of opportunities here, 25 races, 24 to go in the season. Before we let you go, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. It was a phenomenal run watching you race tonight. Again, never any lower than 15th. You were a top half car all night long, and the stage points will prove that.
Yeah, I mean, huge thanks, obviously, to Harpoon Design on the hood today. Brentley Roden also spotting me tonight. Did a great job. Man, dude just does killer paint schemes, and obviously mine is a great example of that. So go and check him out, harpoondesign.com. You can do all of his paints. He's on Trading Paints as well, too. I believe he's ranked #1 in most paints done, or pretty close to that. Just came within, it actually just surpassed 100,000 followers, I believe. So good stuff there. But a huge shout out to my teammates over at Raggy Racing. They didn't have, looks like, the races they wanted today, but overall, it's a long season. So I think we're going to be pretty good. And yeah, just thanks to anybody that makes this thing work for us. And yeah, can't wait to get to Homestead.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you again at Homestead here next weekend. Steve, congratulations on the second place finish. A phenomenal drive. And again, we'll see you next weekend in Homestead, hopefully with another chance at a race win like what we saw tonight.
Yes, thank you.
That was Steve Tucker, your second place finisher here tonight. We would talk to Bryn Roberts, but he had to leave early, it looks like, here. He was there briefly, but we unfortunately missed out on speaking with Brent. We'll try to get him for next week's race. We'll see if we can talk to him in the pre-race show for that. But a phenomenal race run here across the board. Only one overtime restart needed, and it was a fantastic one here. Let's go ahead and go through the results here at Daytona. An absolutely phenomenal run, start to finish. A wild race, but one we wouldn't miss for the world. Chris Fleming from 6th on the grid. He wins here the Drip Diecast 500. Steve Tucker, Bren Roberts, Jonathan Adams, and John Hagan round out your top 5. Zach Millett in 6th. Blake Galloway in 7th. Then it's Connor Knowlton. Patrick Oberstadt, Jared Merchant rounds out your top 10 after leading a lot later on in the race. Brian Dixon in 11th. Marshall Harris went a lap down early, came back, and ended up in 12th. Kevin Feemster in 13th. Daniel Michelle rounds out the top 14 here in Daytona. A fantastic result for all of them in the top half. Ross Baxter from 33rd to 15th, a good positive result for him after being spun around earlier in the race. Josh Battles, very quiet in that throwback Apple Macintosh machine that we saw earlier. From 28th to 16th, though, still a good gain. Same with David Wright in 17th place. Then James Kerr in the 18th place. Kerr going to be over the moon. His team just won the biggest race of the season here in Daytona. Edward Marshall in 19th place from 37th on the grid. Gavin Hudspeth from 40th, row 20. He gained 20 spots in this race. He is our biggest mover in the race. Brian Rupert in 21st, Mike LaJoy in 22nd, Colin McDonough 23rd in this race. I misspoke. Brent Roberts, the biggest gainer. He's got 31 positions gained in this event. But still a lot of positions gained for Gavin Hudspeth, who was also a lap down earlier in this event. Ended up on the lead lap and in the lead conversation. He was within 2 seconds of the race winners at the end of this race. Brian Rupert in 21st, Mike LaJoy 22nd, Colin McDonough, where he ended up starting this race in 23rd, Elrich George in 24th, Lily Peltier Sharp, where she started this race, she finishes in 25th. Tom Sears as a super stub at the front of the field, got to lead a couple laps, didn't get the result he was looking for, only got to 26th position by the time it was all said and done. Mark Dila in 27th. The pole sitter, Michael Lawrence, the front row, did not have a great night tonight. Michael Lawrence in 28th on the lap, but unfortunately very hindered by multiple accidents here this evening. Further down the order here, this is the rest of the standings. David Houck from 10th to 29th. He was just falling backwards, fell backwards quickly and couldn't recover. Tommy Withers in the 43 from 19th to 30th. He falls 11 spots. Elliot Longenecker from 36th to 35th. He stays on the lead lap as well. Same with Matthew Kent, although not the result he was looking for in that Bucky Chevrolet. Ryan Pinnell filling in for Christian Angel will end up 33rd, the last car on the lead lap. Brandon Fetter placed 1 lap down after starting this race in 11th. Austin Mongold, Vincenzo Iacovazzi, some of the cars out of this race. You'll see Matt Vorndren 6 laps down, not officially retired, but did not rejoin after being wrecked close to the finish there. Nathan LaJoy 7 laps down. Riley Mauricio also 15 laps down, but Mauricio did take the checkered flag on the racetrack. Nicholas Martinez Jr. out with a technical failure. Jared Newton, after running out of fuel at the halfway point, retired on the spot as the 41st and final car in the running order. A wild race here in Daytona, as it always is, but a phenomenal feel-good moment for two rookies coming in, trying to prove that they've got what it takes. Chris Fleming and Steve Tucker did just that. Bryn Roberts, a great start as well, finishing third in this race. We're glad you joined us here in Daytona. This was the Drift Diecast 500 for the 7-Bar Barbecue A-Square Cup Series here for ARCS. Next weekend, it's busy. Saturday on Twitch, we have the VRR Marathon GT World Tour, the new V8 Supercars, right here on the road course at Daytona. Next Sunday, 7 p.m. right here on YouTube, it is the 7-Bar Barbecue A-Square Cup Series season from Homestead, Miami. We stay in Florida. We move south to Homestead for the second race of the season. You're not going to want to miss it. On behalf of everyone here for ARCS, for 7-Bar Barbecue, for KJF Design, Just the Top Editing, everyone here at ABN Studios, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you all so much for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you next weekend for more racing in Florida. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.